All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Comic Book Hit List. This is Steve,
What's
and
up, folks? This is your boy Gangsta Ty. Well, I'm not gangsta anymore. I'm just social conscious coronavirus cool Ty. You know.
that's right. Even though we're not together, he's social distancing anyway.
Here's my mask. This is actually a mask I actually had made. I'm very much so into tailor-made stuff. So stop wearing those throwaway masks and pick up your plastic gloves and put them in the trash can, man, for real. Anyway, let me take this off.
This
So
is
yeah.
that was your PSA from
Yeah,
Cool
that's
Guy.
my PSA, man. I actually had this made. I actually had a few of them made, so I wouldn't have to deal with buying the one-use ones and throwing them away. And for real, people, pick up your trash, man. Don't put your plastic gloves on the ground when you walk out of the store. Put them in the trash can. They're already plastic. It's always going to take a billion years to biodegrade anyway. We're going to talk about digital comics.
Well, yeah, let's get started. So, the world of digital comics. There's a handful of digital providers. Comixology, Marvel are the two big ones. I used to have a subscription to Marvel. I thought it was good. I got a discount for an annual subscription, and definitely check those out, guys. I mean, they've always got discounts, so no need to pay full price. They're
Right.
always updating their selection. Um, same thing with Comixology. Currently, actually, I don't have any subscription. I have an app I use for digital comics through the library system, which is really the best of both worlds. They will
Yeah.
give you they will give you everything digitally, updates every month, free, and essentially the same features. You've got that auto panel zoom, which I think is a great way. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I think one of the main benefits, at least for me, for reading digital comics, but there's no reason you can't have both. And I
Right.
know that that's the big debate, right? Is
Right.
old school versus new school. So
Right.
what are your initial thoughts, Ty?
I do want to go with your library app because I was the library chair of Richmond, California for years. And one of the big things that we pushed was the Overdrive app. And the Overdrive allows you to download library material. So if you are in need of some really cool things to read, I would say go onto your Google Play or your App Store, download the Overdrive app, and then the only thing you have to do is find your local library, take your library card and input it as your account, and then poof, you'll be up and ready to go. The whole digital conversation is really interesting. And actually, I'm going to bounce some. I'm going to bounce some. Steve and I are going to have a little debate back and forth. I'm going to give him some ideas, see what he thinks. I think we'll probably end up on the opposite side of some of these, but we'll see. Um, I think long time ago, remember Cross Gen Comics?
Of course.
They actually had a somewhat of a digital form that was on a DVD at one point. You got a DVD or a CDR, you popped it in, and each little panel kind of popped up, but you had to have the actual Sojourn, Ruse, The Path. You had to have that specific DVD for that thing to pop up, and it played like a movie, but the word bubble popped up by itself, and then it became online and so forth and so on, and then of course, Comixology began to blow up, and Comixology was bought by Amazon. Am I right? If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to like and share. My whole take on on digital comics, man, is kind of the more the merrier in some cases. I personally am not a big digital comic book fan. Steve is really he's really diving into the digital comics with the library app. What's that app called again?
I think the creators are Overdrive. When you mentioned that, it sounded familiar. But the specific app that I'm using is called Hoopla, Hoopla. We'll put it in the show notes, guys, for you to download that.
Right. I'm actually still a big proponent for um, the actual book. And so I'm okay with buying reader copies, dollar books, 50-cent books. I have not switched over to the digital, whereas Steve on many points or many cases has switched over to the digital. I think the digital a has a platform. I don't think the digital platform is going to take over the original hobby, which is the actual authentic book platform, but I think it does have a platform to stand on to get people to come into the arena of reading comic books and graphic novels, but also reintroducing people to come back in because who've left for whatever reason. Someone is coming in. Would your best introduction for them be digital, or would your best introduction for them would be actual book?
That's an interesting question. Initially, I would probably say a physical book because that's something that they would be somewhat familiar with. On the other hand, everybody has a smartphone. Everybody has access to Wi-Fi or some sort of data connection. So downloading and setting everything up takes less than 5 minutes, probably less than 2 minutes. It's really a matter of finding something that interests you, especially if you're a new or casual reader. And so if you have someone that's going to recommend something to you from a physical perspective, like you're in a store or you're talking to a friend, that's even a faster way to get that book, right? They hand you a book. So it's sort of depends on the situation. If you were just recommending to someone, like let's say between you and I, we can't actually meet each other in person, I would definitely recommend going the digital route because again, the setup is 2 minutes or less.
Right. I guess for me, it would be the age. I have seen kids, from middle school on down who want to get into something. They are more apt to pick up and get the digital. They're more apt to finding the websites where they can read the digital. They're just willing to hang out on the phone and get it digitally, right? They can also kind of read it really quickly. It's also less expensive. There are a lot of websites that are allowing you to not only get it digital, but get it digitally for free. Versus someone who I think is a little bit older, uh, they might actually want to get that real book in their hands to feel that real book, especially if they're going the Silver Age and Golden Age route. I think Silver Age and Golden Age readers are going to get the real book, but I haven't found too many newer collectors that are into the Silver and Golden Age for the reading value. That's
Right.
going to read the book. I think they more so would get the archive edition, those types of things, and read it that way, or just read it on, or just read it in a reprinted graphic novel.
That leads me to another good point is I haven't found, and I haven't actually looked, to be fair, a lot of anything that's not modern age. So
Right,
we are specifically focusing on readers.
right,
And so
and
you're right. Age is a good point. However, I would also like to add that the collectors, even collectors, let's not focus on, Silver Age or anything older than that. But if you think about it from a collector's perspective, they also want to keep their book in pristine condition. And this is a
yeah,
great way to do that. So that's one point. The other
right.
point is the experience. So we could talk about that after if you got something else to jump in
Right.
with. But
Yeah.
I think experience is huge.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think a lot of modern collectors, they're going into, if I want to read the book, I'm good with reading it digitally. They may have those one or two titles that they really, really want. If they're going after the variant, of course, they're going to go after the variant, the key. They actually want that physical thing because they're trying to make a profit. They're buying something to hold on to invest to make that profit. What about price point? Marvel and DC are heavily pushing. I think they have the first month or so for free, and then after that, maybe it's a few months, 2 or 3 months. I can't remember exactly. The first few months for free, and then after that, it's like $9.95, to where you have unlimited number of books to read digitally versus the price of going into the wild, going online, hunting for particular issues, and procuring those issues. I'll give you a good point. Uh, if I could have, I guess at this point you could find a lot of titles digitally pretty easy, right? It's the whole story's there. Versus I was looking for a few issues of um, She Could Fly, and I'm having to scrounge around because I got, late to the game and having to find an issue over here and an issue over here and not putting them all together. Would price be a major luring point to get someone to go digitally versus going hardcover or going actual book?
If price is a concern for you, yes. But I think most collectors, if they're looking for something physical like a hardback, I think they're gonna budget for it. It's not like buying a new car, or you're taking out a loan for a mortgage, right? I mean, you're talking about something that's probably just a casual hobby where
Right.
you have a budget, and even if you like go over that budget for a week or the month, I'm sure it's not a big deal.
Those of you guys who do subscribe, guys and girls, if you do subscribe to these different outlets that allow you to do digital, put it down in the comments. Let us know your experience, how you like it, how you think it could be improved, what you dislike about it. Let's keep this conversation going. The next part for me is about the collection, right? So for me, I actually want to have the physical book. I actually want to have it where I can either trade it, grade it, sell it, trade up for it, read it multiple times, be able to tangibly look at it. I don't think you would get that from a digital standpoint, right? I think you would be able to read it, but the collectability there in a digital version would not be a positive thing.
If the collecting aspect is the main reason why, or one of the main reasons why you are buying and reading comics, it's not going to be the way to go. It is, purely for the reading aspect, and again, the experience. And the experience, what I mean by that is what I was talking about before, about the ability to, both manipulate, what you're actually looking at, whether it's, having the auto zoom on the panel feature, or being able to connect, your smartphone to another device so it enlarges the comic, so it's, 2-3 times bigger than anything you could
Right.
ever hold in your hands, right?
Right.
So those factors to me are huge. Also, you can read comics in bed, and it's just on your phone, and again, it zooms in, and it's still crystal clear, whatever you're looking at, and it's panel by panel, which is it. It totally change, at least for me, it totally changes the experience, because now, instead of seeing everything all
Yeah.
together, where you
Hmm.
sort of can get something spoiled for you if it's on the same page or the next page that you sort of catch a glimpse of, you now have it so that you're being led purposefully, and more purposefully, by the creators, because they have situated the panels and the art and the dialogue in a very specific way. And this is the way that you have a more translatable experience to what they have created for you, versus you putting your whole eye on the page, where you have less control, right? Because your eyes will go to specific colors, or specific sizes of art. So all of those things are a factor, and I think that's something that's very underappreciated with digital comics.
I have to admit, 100%, I have to admit that you just opened my eyes to something. You're absolutely right. I remember Comixology, having my first Comixology account. And that's exactly what I experienced. And something else I just thought about is with these high def TVs, if you were to download it through your TV, you would have an amazing cinematic experience, because
Yeah,
you're right, you're being led, not you kind of see it all in one eyeball or one looking, you're being led. I specifically go to the point of, and the first thing that comes to my mind is in Batman's The Hush storyline, when Jim Lee did that amazing 5 gatefold centerfold of the Batcave. Can you imagine seeing that in HD on your TV, and you get to see each and every individual piece of that and take it in little by little? I mean, like this huge cinematic experience. I mean, that would just be absolutely amazing to get that experience. I didn't even think about it that way, but you're right, Steve, 100%.
and that's something that it has taken me a while to understand too. It's not something that I, you know, have come to understand instantly. It has definitely taken a while, especially if you flip between physical books and digital. If you were just guys, if you guys are just using digital, or you have both, try doing just digital for reading the next, 10 stories. You will notice a difference. You will notice that you no longer jump or skip or look at specific, dialogue bubbles first. You are, again, led. It sounds kind of strange, but instead of, let's put it this way, if you're, instead of watching the movie and jumping around, you're watching the movie the way it was supposed to be shown to you.
Right, which is exactly why a cinematic experience is a really good way of expressing it, because the director, the cameraman, the videographer is leading you and not giving you too much information too soon. Whereas
Right,
the actual physical book is giving you all the information right up front. You kind of have to, avert your eyes and keep it till you don't
right.
spoil it on your own. That's a good point. That's a really good point. I appreciate that, man. The next thing that comes to mind is accessibility. Um, you know, I don't know if you know this, but trading cards started a few years back with digital trading cards, like rare variant digital trading cards, and they were actually sold online for a while. Very opposite of what happened with the digital comic code. When digital comic code came out, people were buying the comic and then selling the code, and eBay immediately cut that as quick as possible, right? So I don't know if that's going to come back, but the accessibility to your collection, if you have a digital collection, it's pretty easy to assess, right? You can grab it pretty quickly. Versus for me, I would have to go out to my storage unit, go into this particular box, flip all the way through that particular box to find that issue, or to find that those issues to read that storyline, right? So, what do you think about the accessibility of your comic collection versus, your physical comic collection versus your digital? Because people now actually have a digital comic book collection.
I am not someone that has a digital library, since, I'm borrowing everything, onto my phone and having it downloaded, and then when I'm done with it, it's gone. The physical accessibility that you're talking about, I think it's mainly a benefit, because it's something that, at least for me, I enjoy, and I think most collectors enjoy, doing some hunting, doing some cataloging. There's a little bit of OCD if you're a collector, right?
Right,
You
right.
got you got to have a little bit of that. Do I have this already? Should I get more? And then also, if you're missing a book, you got to fill in that story. You got to fill in that collection. So
Right.
keeping track of everything, I know, I don't know anybody that says they don't like doing it.
Right. And that's a good point. And the first thing that comes to mind is the movie Wally. If my digital collection is on my phone and I'm always sitting back in bed reading my digital collection and kicking it up on the big, 55-inch screen, that's less movement that I do.
Right.
But if I have that physical collection, I'm actually getting up, standing up, doing it. The physical exertion of one collection versus the other, I guess it all depends.
If you guys have a, a vast digital collection, what is that like? Because you there's, as far as what's available, it's got to be a very small percentage compared to what's actually out there, right? Because
Right.
again, we're talking about mostly modern age, and if we're wrong, if there is platforms that do have golden age, silver age stuff, then let us know. But I haven't seen it.
Well, I mean, Marvel and DC do in their archival edition. I think some of that stuff has been digitized, so you can go back and read that. But I don't. I would agree with you. I don't think it's as much as the Golden Age and Silver Age stuff isn't as much out there as modern stuff is.
I got a question for you, Ty. What would entice you to go either
Oh,
all or more digital? And it doesn't have to be something that exists now. It could be anything, some sort of,
hmm.
let's say price is not a factor,
Okay.
right? So you could, if you had the unlimited budget right now, but you still don't want to go digital, what would make you go digital?
And I think that, of course, having my favorites at the ready at all times. But what would make me go digital? I guess something that could make me go digital. It would be pretty cool to be able to trade and share. To be able to trade and share books. I think that would be pretty novel idea. Like if you have something that I want to read, I can read I could trade with you. Like I give you something or you give up something, or you would just allow me to read yours. I think that would be pretty cool because that would be very similar to me. Let's say I want to read a story and I don't want to pay cover price for it. I may just wait to a con and try to find it in the dollar bins, right? So that's
Well,
that.
well, let's put it this way. What if, the library has everything you want, like the
Right.
digital library has everything you want. The price is nominal or it doesn't matter. Would you would you still want to go with the physical version, or is there anything that can be done for you to completely cross over? And again, it doesn't have to be something that exists now. The
Right.
reason why I say that is because I'm thinking of it from maybe a technological aspect.
Maybe age would be a thing, right? Maybe that would be the thing that would get me to switch over. Maybe the time of my schedule. So I guess that's the best answer I could give right now. I don't really have anything concrete. Which one do you think would create more new readers? Do you think getting getting people to read an actual book would create more new readers, or do you think encouraging people to find a good graphic novel in a digital form that they could read in their own time, right?
I would say it's still the physical books, but I think that's because a lot of people are not aware of the digital access that you can get. I think I think between the two, as far as level of effort goes, it seems like, again, it seems like it would be much easier to just download this app, whatever app, log in, look for the book, and you'd be done. But there's this whole experience also with going to a store, even searching online. The catalogs are much deeper. Price again is probably not going to, you're not breaking the bank. Or if you're walking into a store, you've got someone there that can give you a recommendation, or you just see something that catches your eye and you pick it up. I would think, in the next 10, 20 years, when they've got, the technology down more, not just for digital comics, but just, with smartphones and in general, it'll be easier, and it'll
See,
be more normal. Right now,
right.
that's not normal. There's still, I think, the sort of the common the common thing to do is I'm going to buy it online. I'm going to, or I'm going to go on eBay, or I'm going to go to my local comic shop, drive down the street or whatever, and buy it there. But I think that's going to change drastically in the next 10 to 20 years.
I would think that to get new readers, I would think that the digital would have a leg up over the physical for many of the reasons you just said. I actually have to get in my car, drive down the road, find the local comic book store, kind of figure out what I need, talk to people, versus I could just sit on my device and just thumb and flip through things that grab my attention. I actually think that more people might be a little bit more comfortable grabbing that digital book because not only can they read one or two issues for free in the beginning before they actually get the whole thing, but they also have that access to those particular sites like, Overdrive and, uh, you know, free month or two subscription to different companies' websites or digital collection where they can go in and read for a little bit, kind of find their own pace find their own take, what they like at their own pace, and then start going. So I think the digital has a leg up over the physical because there's just less to do. If I want to read a digital book, I can literally go in and type in, free digital comic books and just see what comes up. I don't have to go out of my house or do anything. I can be in my little rose color boxers with my little, sunshine slippers on and sit back and just flip through a bunch of digital comic books and just do my own thing as I want versus having to go through many steps to do all of that. I don't have to go to a con. I don't really have to, I can read all the reviews that are on TV. I mean, that are on the computer or TV, I guess, So I kind of think that the digital comic book has a little bit of has a little bit higher allure than the physical because it's so accessible.
And you're talking about a hobby that's already not, it is still, I would say, a little bit fringe. So I think it's going to take time. I think it's going to take time to get people into the hobby, and then also what they're doing to access that.
But see, I hear that a lot. Like it's going to take time to get people into the hobby, but man, people are already into the hobby. I mean, you not only do you find cosplay kind of taking over the cons, but I also find that cosplayers also are picking up some books. That's how they know, some back history of the characters that they're portraying. It also takes away the tedious amount of time that you spend searching through bin after bin and booth after booth and store after store and collect. It completely takes that completely out of the picture. You are just now, okay, I want to read Kurt Swan's Superman, or I heard somebody talking about how good Kurt Swan's Superman is. Let me read some of his stuff. Or I want to read Kurt Busiek's collection of comic books. So I can go in and click, I want to read Kurt Busiek, and bam, 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 bam. Here they all are. I don't have to spend time at Comic Wise looking through his multitude of books trying to find something. It's right at my fingertips now.
I think you're talking about two different types of fans, though. You're talking about one, the casual reader, which I agree, digital is the way to go. Super easy to access, much more affordable. The other fan you're talking about, going to cons, looking through bins, those are collectors first.
Right.
And that's the difference. You're talking about a casual reader versus a collector. Cosplay extends, well beyond comics. I think there's a lot with anime.
I agree with you. Right.
Yeah. So for them, they're probably even more casual than the casual reader. They're probably picking up something that's very specific to what they like, which is why they're cosplaying that way.
Collectors are always talking about the importance of keeping the hobby going and expanding it and bringing in new readers, right? So my question would be, what is it that you guys out there would do? You guys, the listeners, and you, Steve, what would you guys do to bring new readers, new collectors into the hobby? There's going to be people who are going to be attracted to the story, the uniforms, the characters, the costumes, the over the top big old muscles. What would be something that you guys out there could do? Make sure you give us your opinion and your ideas in the comment section below. I know one thing that I've done over the years, and now that we're in this COVID-19 era of collecting, which I think is going to be pretty interesting, and how it all turns out and what happens once some form of comic distribution begins. One thing that I've been doing is I've been putting together small runs of a particular book, a book that I think actually fits a particular kid, right? And I've been sending them that particular set of books for birthday gifts, holiday gifts, special gifts, you name it, so that they can have a set of books at home. Now, whether they keep it going on it or if it's just, hey, it's just, it's what Uncle Ty or my cousin Tyrone sent me, that may be it. But what would you say would be a good way to get more kids into the hobby? And after you go, I want to tell you something else that I actually did to get my own kids to sit back and enjoy a comic book show.
I'm going to stick with the digital route. I feel like I'm more pro digital for this episode, so I'm going to stick with that and say, if you could either get them a subscription or get them set up, or send them, if they exist, some sort of digital copies, a specific run of a story, send it to them. Maybe it's as easy as, in my head, emailing it to them or sending them a download, and then they've got it and they could look at it on their iPad. They could just swipe through the pages or zoom in, like, what we were talking about before. But you can't tell me that's not easier than putting together a package, going to the post office, standing in line, waiting for the guy to ask you, do you want confirmation? Do you want a signature?
Right.
Do you want a return receipt?
Right.
So all that stuff.
Yeah. So basically saying, like, you buy the comic, you send the code to someone, a younger kid, a younger brother, a coworker, male or female. Hey, I'm reading this book. Check this out. You can have this. I'm giving you the digital code to the physical book that I have. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah,
I actually should go through my comics to see which digital codes are still available and offer them out to people. That's a great idea.
Like I said before, Marvel specifically, they had a sale going on, I want to say last year, and they probably got more sales now, or if not, coming up. I think the year that when I bought it was like $100,
right,
for the year, and that's unlimited for anything in the library now, and what they put out each month.
Gotcha.
Which that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's good. You could easily spend $100.
Yeah, you could spend $100 on three trades. On dollar books, or three trades at full price these days.
You could spend $100. You could spend $100 on 2 absolute editions.
Probably just one.
Probably just one really good absolute edition. You're right. Yeah. Guys, listen, if you want to expand or do your part to help this collection or to help this hobby expand, 2 great ideas. Give up your digital codes, which I'm sure a lot of us have digital codes that are just sitting. And I know you might not want to peel it all the way off. Just peel it up a little bit and get the code, and then put it back down and send it out to your friends, send it out to your coworker, just something. I've come to understand that the more I tell people about what I'm reading, because what I read is very comic booky, but there's also those Avatar Press and different type of, IDW and Lock and Key. There's always that another layer of comic books that people don't really get, and they go, wow. I remember reading from Image Comic. Remember the miniseries Bedlam by can't remember the group, the creators, but there was this amazing book called Bedlam, and it was phenomenal. And I remember telling another coworker, this graphic novel is just absolutely crazy. And she went out and bought it because she just wanted to read, she wanted to see what the whole hoopla and the excitement about. and she ended up loving the book. So, and she bought a hardback. So expand the hobby, ladies and gentlemen, by gift giving of some comics or gift giving of some digital comics. Either of those things will definitely help the hobby, because I know people are always saying we want to keep it going. We don't want it to be, and that's like anything. We don't want it to just stay as is. We want it to elevate, elevate, elevate. Definitely right now, in this time right now where we're doing this social distancing and we're, sheltering in place for this time, all of the online buying, ordering, filling gaps, perfect time to say, hey, you know what, I already own this copy, but I had to buy 6, 7 more. I'm going to give these away to a younger cousin, a younger relative in the family, let them kind of read it and enjoy it, just to kind of get their opinion and see what they think about it. I don't know. Have you given comics as gifts before, Steve?
Oh yeah, I was actually just thinking about that. Yeah, I've given out comics to friends, to friends with you know younger siblings, or if they have kids. It's it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
You've got stories that you can pass along, and they can pass along after they're done with it. Um, yeah, I mean, and if we're going back to digital, that's even, and again, easier way to do all of that. And again, with technology getting better and better every year, it should be easier. The experience should get better, and it
Right.
should be cheaper. So all of those things, we just have to find the right time where everything intersects, where it'll make more sense, and there'll be a big boom. I don't think we've experienced
Absolutely.
that boom yet. I think
Yeah.
it's still very much so. You have a physical copy, which, again, it's great if you're a collector, but I think a lot of new readers, a lot of casual readers, they don't care about that. They want to read the story. They want to have a good experience, like a movie, right? You don't need
Yeah.
to own the DVD. I mean, who owns DVDs anymore,
Which is
right?
crazy, right? Because that was like the you thought at one we thought at one point DVDs would never go away.
And look now. I mean, the advent of so many streaming services, the digital comic arena should be that in a few years. The only thing really stopping it is, again, the collectability, but I think also maybe um, the revenue generated
Yeah,
from physical books, and just everybody that's included there in the supply chain. So maybe
yeah,
that's a factor too that we're not aware of. Guys,
yeah,
if you know Jim Lee and Dan DiDio, tell them to hit us up, and they could school us on that, because
yeah. Even
they,
though
they're
Dan,
get, they're getting into that now. So
yeah, and even though Dan is no longer at DC,
oh, my bad, that's right.
he's
But
still in the business.
he's probably still in the business. He could definitely school us on how things are done or were done.
Exactly. So listen, folks, we are going to wrap this thing up, and we appreciate you guys hanging out with us for this time. And actually, we appreciate you guys coming back every single time, checking out these videos. And again, like always, peace out to you guys. Don't forget to like, share, comment down below. Let's keep this thing going. We appreciate you coming, hanging out with us, talking some great comic book stuff. And again, we can do our part by soap and warm water, washing our hands,
Well,
hand
another
sanitizer,
PSA.
wearing our masks. And we could do our part by making sure we keep the hobby going by passing on some comic books, whether they be digital or physical copies, whether they just be little sample copies, or just having conversations about having conversations about storylines that might interest other people. Let's do our thing. So we appreciate you guys coming out again. This is your boy Cool Ty. That's my man over there, Steve. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys coming out. I can't say it enough. And we'll see you guys next time. So from the comic book hit list, peace out.
Goodbye, everyone.